Stand-up comedian, writer, and actor Norm MacDonald has died from cancer, which he battled quietly for 9 years. He was only 61 years old, and maybe some folks aren't old enough to remember how wonderful he was. But he's a comedy legend, had been on SNL for 4 years, had incredible characters like Burt Reynolds on Jeopardy. He was the regular host of Weekend Update, just an incredible dry sense of humor, amazing delivery, super funny, super sharp. And that's why you're seeing an outpouring of support and sadness from a lot of fellow comics and former coworkers at SNL. Jon Stewart said on Twitter, "No one can make you break like Norm MacDonald, hilarious and unique, F cancer." Breaking, right, is like breaking character where you're just gonna laugh. It's like when, folks at SNL or on the show will just like bust up in the middle of the sketch. Sarah Silverman wrote, "Norm was in a comedy genre of his own. No one like him on this planet. Please do yourself a favor and watch his stuff. He was one of a kind of all time. One of a kind of all time." And Seth Rogen, oh, F word. "I was a huge fan of Norm MacDonald and I essentially ripped off his delivery when I first started acting. I would stay up specifically to watch him on talk shows. He was the funniest guest of all time. We lost a comedy giant today, one of the all-time greats, RIP."
So Francesca, you're funny. You're a comedian. I don't know if that's a term anymore.
I don't think so. Yeah,
it was weird when it happened. So I feel like people that did the game know how hard it is to do what he did, seemingly effortless. So this thing, when I was at SC, I knew who Norm MacDonald was, and I was like, yeah, he's the guy from SNL, sure. And he came and did a show for us. It was like this quick live show, and we got it for free. It was in this big event, and I was like, I'll go because everyone's going. I don't care about Norm MacDonald. I left stomach hurting, tears streaming. It was the funniest thing I at that point had ever seen from a comedian in live performances. And he just it looked like he got up there and was just talking to us, and it wasn't that at all. But we thought so. I was like, this guy's just talking, and I don't know what he just said, but I can't stop laughing at it. Yeah. It was delivery, it was content, and it was timing, and that stuff is way underrated for how hard it is to do the way he did it.
Oh my God, yeah, and he also he's got a biography, an autobiography that is actually just full of fairy tales and lies. He just embellishes, and that's part of the humor of it. Apparently it's amazing. I haven't read it yet. But yeah, the guy, that's the best kind of comedy and the best kind of stand-ups is when they're just talking and the punchlines are coming and the tags are coming and going, but it doesn't always feel like set up, punch, rim shot. That is much more, everyone's got their personal favorite style, but when someone makes it look that easy, like I think Norm MacDonald did, and it's not everyone's favorite, but that sort of effortlessness, and he had to work really hard at it. But he also, he's a stand-up for 25 years, I believe. So that's a long time, and he very much continued his career after SNL as well, even though that's what people remember him for, or being the drunk guy in the pool in the movie Billy Madison with Adam Sandler. But I just want to read this one last thing. This is from the New York Times, an obit talking about how great MacDonald was. And he had a lot of bits about dying. And he had a bit about his uncle dying from cancer. So MacDonald once talked about an uncle dying of cancer, skewering how we now describe people suffering from that disease as, quote, waging a battle, because that means the last thing you do before you die is lose. I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure that if you die, then the cancer also dies at the same time, MacDonald said on Comedy Central. That to me is not a loss, that's a draw.
Yeah, even in that. And it makes sense. The thing is, it's funny that it still makes sense. I'm sorry, because you read that and it's very particular to it and makes sense. But there was something that stuck out to me from Milana Vayntrub, who's the AT&T actress who plays the AT&T girl.
Yes.
She's funny. She's really funny. I met her once. She's really cool people. And so she took a screenshot of an interaction she had with Norm MacDonald. And Norm said, "How long have you been doing stand-up, Milana?" And she goes, "About 3 years, Norm. But lately I've been doing stand-up as my dad. I put on a mustache and talk about how disappointed I am in my daughter." And that's her bit. Norm responded, "Haha, do you say you're disappointed that your daughter has stooped to dressing like you and acting like you are disappointed in your daughter?" So then she says that, she posts that and she goes, "He just gave me a suggestion that's funnier than my entire set." Just off the top of his head, and it's just the way he was. He'll find 3 different levels to a joke that no one will think of, that makes sense, but is also hilarious at the same time. And she's like, I gotta throw the rest of my set out because he just gave me a suggestion. So
I know a lot of people who knew him and who met him and have amazing stories. I met Kevin Nealon, who's a lovely, delightful man, and also co-star with Norm on SNL, but I never was able to meet Norm MacDonald. But anyway, RIP to a real one. Everybody check out his comedy. That is okay. I think it's totally fine when somebody passes and you didn't know them well to go back and their memory lives on.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.